Hi everyone, welcome back to Planticles. This is Laura, and today I am going to show you a DIY Harry Potter themed disc-bound planner cover. And what I'm using here are some vinyl decals that I received from a company called Conquest Journals. They make licensed Harry Potter items, mostly planner related stuff. There's a lot of really cute journaling type things, and they have other lines that they use too. But before I get into that, just wanted to let y'all know I've got 2 other hauls coming up this week. One hopefully going up today, but really excited to show y'all. One is planner related and one is craft related. So what I'm doing here is I cut a piece of black cardstock, and I'm kind of measuring out a general size of the planner cover, and I'm arranging the stickers in a way that I want to see that they don't get cut off, but that I also like the way that they're positioned. So I am applying them here to the black cardstock and just trying to figure out the way that I like them better on here. Okay, and then I'm just making sure that the parts that I am cutting off really aren't that big of a deal. And here I'm actually tracing a line around it, but what I'll find later is that the cover art should be smaller than the full cover size because of that little border there. So I had cut it down to the outline that I made, so now I'm cutting off that extra border there. It's about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and I'll put the dimensions of the cover art size in the description box, and then the dimensions of the overall cover size in the description box as well. So I'm just using my We Are Memory Keepers paper cutter here. That actually I found in a set with some other items on clearance at Tuesday morning. So here I'm just matching it up, making sure it's exactly the size I want. And before I laminate it, I'm going to round the corners. At this time that I didn't have a corner rounder punch, so I just used my scissors and just eyeballed it. And I figured this is the first time I'm doing it, so I might as well just try out some different things. And it doesn't matter if it's perfect. So there we go. That's the front cover. And I do pretty much the same thing for the back cover. I didn't decorate the back cover just because I was practicing and trying this out for the first time, but what I did was I lined up the top edge with the already pre-cut size, so I didn't have to trace all the way around. So here I'm using a self-laminating sheet. It's the Scotch brand, and what I'm going to do is put it up to that very edge seam, and that the top and the bottom edges, I don't really want to cut those down, so I want to make sure that it's lined up properly, so it's one less thing to cut. So I'm removing that middle strip, and it says to use a ruler, but I didn't have one, so the top part is the sticky part, so I'm using just the edge of the planner cover that I already had to smooth it out as I go. And then I'm using that also as kind of like a squeegee, but it's not firm enough, so I used the squeegee that came in the set with the cutter, and it worked fine. I learned a few things doing this the first time, that I should probably push down those edges pretty firmly first, because if you saw, one part of it kind of came up a little bit in that top right corner. But not bad overall. I mean, like I said, for my first try. And then just working my way towards the bottom. And I think because it's black, you kind of see a lot of the creases there, or I don't know what you would call them. They're not really creases. But, no big deal. So I'm just making sure it's the size that I need. So that middle crease, we will end up having to cut that part because that's a little bit wider than we need it to be, but the edges should be fine, from what you're seeing right here, the left and right edges. So I'm just making some marks here that will help guide me in my cutter there. So I'm just cutting them down. And I'll also link the Scotch brand laminating sheets that I used here. I forget the thickness of them. They're either 3 or 5 mil. And just lining them up again just to make sure that it's the size I want. And again, just using my scissors to round the corners again. And the reason you want to cut both the paper and the laminating is because sometimes the corners might stick out farther than you want them to go. And when you're rounding those corners, it'll cut through and open up your laminating sheet there. So I'm going to use my Happy Planner punch. I think it's not the big size, it's the classic size. And it's really not recommended to use it for this purpose. It says that the maximum thickness should be 3 sheets of paper, which definitely this is not 3 sheets of paper. So I'm also doing some little practice punches here because I'd never used one before, and want to make sure that I know what it feels like to get it all the way to the edge. Because see there, it didn't turn out too great. So just doing a few practices. And what I ended up doing was, because the marks that are on there are for paper, it's not telling you the length if you were to put something that's laminated or has an extra border on it. So I used the cover to kind of line up with the grooves, and then line the cover that I made up with the pre-made cover. So it took a bit of force to get this done. I also didn't want to break it, but not bad for the first time using that punch. And I'm lining up there, and I figured if I flipped it around it would line up a lot better. So yeah, these were perfect. So I'm just putting it on the mini pages that I had already set up, and it looks great. The only thing I didn't care for was that little extra in the margin. You can see the pages, but you know, I could probably put just another paper of cardstock back there, or just next time make it whiter. But yeah, you can see those kind of creases there, but that's how it turned out. Let me know if you like this video with a like or subscribe, and I appreciate your time.